What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Tooned Up on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. I am your host, Mike. Joining me, as always, is my co-captain, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And welcoming our special guest for this week, Billy Pollihan.
Hey, what's up, guys? I don't know if I'm worthy of being a special guest, but I thank you, Mike, for inviting me anyway.
Well, we're glad to have you. Today's a pretty special episode because we're talking about probably one of the most influential cartoons of the 2010s. This is Gravity Falls. But before we get there, we have some news items to discuss. So, Cameron, what do you got?
Alrighty, let's see here. We will first start with some DreamWorks news roundup. We forgot to talk about one of these news stories, and then we'll, of course, talk about the obvious stuff that came up in between this episode and the last. DreamWorks is working on an adaptation of the Ronan Boyle book with Fergal Riley as director. And then we have the news of, the Croods sequel finally got a trailer and a new title. The Croods, A New Age. And this is where the family, meets more evolved people called the Bettermans. And the new voice cast will include Peter Dinklage, Leslie Mann, Kelly Marie Tran, and then, of course, the returning cast will be Nicolas Cage, Emma Stone, Ryan Reynolds, Catherine Keener, Clark Duke, Randy Thorne, Cloris Leachman, and then Chris Sanders and Tara Strong will be coming back to it also. And then the Boss Baby sequel comes out next year in 2021 called Boss Baby Family Business. It's going to be released in March 26th and will include a voice cast that includes returning Alec Baldwin, Ariana Greenblatt, and then James Marsden, Ava Longoria, Jimmy Kimmel, Amy Sedaris, Lisa Kudrow, and Jeff Goldblum. I like the sound of that cast.
Same. DreamWorks always knows how to cast these.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think the Boss Baby got a little too much hate because it was like the first thing to come out right after Lego Batman. And so, I know, it's not like it's one of DreamWorks' top 10 or anything, but I think it's pretty funny still.
It's still my most controversial review of all time.
But you know what? At least it's better than the Netflix series. I'll say that. Ugh, can't stand it. Netflix has announced the voice cast for the spin-off Army of the Dead Las Vegas anime series. That's a prequel to Snyder's upcoming zombie action heist film coming out next year. On top of the cast of Dave Bautista, Ana de la Reguera, Tig Notaro, Omari Hardwick, and Ella Purnell, we have Joe Manganiello, who has just been in a lot of things. Christian Slater, Harry Lennox, Ross Butler, Anya Charlotra, Vanessa Hudgens, Jenna Malone, Yatib Badaki, Christina Wren, Monica Barbaro, and Nolan North. No release yet, but that's really it for there. Braun Studios, the studio behind this year's The Willoughbys, their first film, Henchmen, is now getting a release in the U.S. and it will be released 5 days from now, digital platforms by Vertical Entertainment. This is one of those films that kind of had a more interesting production history because it was originally supposed to be released and produced by Gary Sanchez Productions, which was owned by Adam McKay, Will Ferrell, and Chris Henchy. And then after some point they dropped out of the project, and then it's kind of like the Henchmen, the Grunts, Save the Day and such kind of movie take on this whole superhero genre and whatnot. And that's really it for that. I guess we should now move on to our major news stories, because at first it was going to be pretty low key, and then, well, a few big news stories popped up. First up, G Kids has the acquisitions for North America to bring out the entire Evangelion franchise, of the original series and the movies that came with it, for Blu-ray in 2021, which will mark the first time in America that the franchise that went through a lot of legal hell, for the first time in North America to be put on Blu-ray. This is also big because G Kids doesn't normally pick up TV series. They have Ronja, the robber's daughter, but that's because Studio Ghibli is attached to it, so, big shock there. And then they put out the entire series of A Town Called Panic. That's also because it's attached to a wildly acclaimed animated film. Any quick thoughts before we get into the major news stories?
I think this is just a big deal for people who are fans of Neon Genesis, who either haven't had a chance to own it yet, or just want to collect it for the millionth time.
Billy, any thoughts?
About Evangelion? I think this is awesome, because I think physical media should be preserved. I have a digital collection myself, but I love to bust out hey, check what I got. And there's something about physically owning it, and if it's an acclaimed anime, because I know very little about this subject, but if this is something that people really love, and this creates an opportunity others to see it, then yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to come with the original 26 episode TV series, and then the Evangelion Death True Square, weird title, and then the end of Evangelion. And no news on which dub they will have, because there's the original ADV dub, and then there's the one that Netflix did. And there was a lot of controversy when it was released on Netflix because they changed the dub, and then the subtitles were changed. That most of the complaints were of nostalgia, but then there were some that was gay eraser. So that's not okay. And apparently those were from the studio that made it, and Ano and the director and creator of the series said you got to change this. I don't know why. It's all kind of up in the air about who was in charge of the new subtitles. But yeah, no, this will be great, because getting your hands on the original Evangelion series is going to cost you a lot. It's almost as much as that JoJo Bizarre's Adventure OVA series that got pulled, and now the latter half is hundreds of dollars. Not worth it to me.
Yeah, and anime can get very expensive.
Yeah, but this is why old anime needs to be re-released and all that jazz.
Yeah, get it on at Crunchyroll.
So, did any Lion King news come up this past week? Woo! Okay, let's dive into it. Barry Jenkins is going to direct a sequel, midquel, prequel thing, follow-up to the 2019 Lion King movie. And it's going to pull a Godfather 2, where it's going to focus on a young Mufasa. Any thoughts?
We're only including this because technically the 2019 version was still an animated movie. So yeah, it makes more sense to talk about that here. The only reason I'm even a little bit optimistic is because Barry Jenkins is such a good filmmaker that there's hope that he can inject some life into what was ultimately a pretty lifeless recreation of a Disney Renaissance classic.
Yeah, and I'm still kind of petty over Jon Favreau saying, or Disney saying, it's not animated. It's not an animated movie. They were so hell-bent on telling people it's not an animated movie, even though it's animated. It's an animated movie. It's just hyper-realistic animation. There's... it's frustrating. At first, I was just kind of like, man, this is not even the worst movie I saw that year. But it's probably the most morally bankrupt movie I saw last year. And that's saying something when LaQuisha was a thing. And
The less said about that, the better.
Anyway, I feel like Barry Jenkins wouldn't have picked this project up unless there was something to it. And the sequels to their live action films tend to be better in some ways. Not always, but still. And I know a lot of people like to pull this on Twitter, say like, wouldn't it be amazing if they gave him an original project?
Even though he has like 7 of them?
Yes, and the problem is the whole freaking hypocrisy of it all on film Twitter that are like, well, here's the thing. You say you want originality, but you don't seem to support it because you don't talk about it. He has a new movie coming out. Nobody's talking about it. So, and I loved If Beale Street Could Talk. Where the heck was everyone else? That movie bombed. And it's like, don't cry about originality if you're not ready to support it. Because you don't need to be like that one person who went to see Infinity War 66 times. All that money, all those 65 times you went to see it, could have gone to an original movie or a smaller indie film or whatever. Like, and of course, it's also on the distributors and production companies to actually advertise and distribute the original properties. It just drives me up a wall though, because I hate seeing that. Like, wouldn't it be amazing if Disney put out an original property? And it's like, they have. Their animated stuff, not counting Pixar, has been original. Like, or do you not count that because animation is for kids or whatever malarkey? You know, just, I don't know. I'm very passionate about this. The whole originality versus adaptation, whatever. So, any other thoughts?
Billy, I know you're just excited to talk about The Lion King again.
Oh, am I? I mean, it's a remake of... I use the term remake loosely, by the way. It's pretty much Gus Van Sant's Psycho, shot for shot, Lion King. Can we swear on this?
Go for it.
Yeah, this is fucking nuts. I mean, like, how the hell did they get Barry Jenkins? I don't know. And you mentioned, like, he's got, like, 7 other projects, so I guess Barry Jenkins is now, like, Guillermo del Toro, where he's going to have, like, 20 things in development. And just, it's bizarre. Like, I don't... I expected them to do something because it made $1.6 billion. Well, think about that first. But yeah. I thought they were going to do like what Beauty and the Beast did and just move it to Disney Plus. I did not think they were going to do something like this for a theatrical release. Like, what is there to gain from that? Is the name Lion King just going to carry on?
Apparently.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we don't think about it because they own Star Wars and Marvel and Jim Henson and whatnot. Or the Muppets, at least, specifically. But Lion King was a very profitable IP for them for, like, a long time. There were, like, spin-off cartoons, the direct-to-video sequels. Like, it got a lot more support than most, like, if any other Disney property or film that they've put out. Like, maybe Lilo and Stitch and the Little Mermaid match in terms of, like, just how much products were made from it.
Do you guys remember when The Lion King was re-released back in like 2011?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay, so I just want to point this out. The box office for that weekend was 30.2 million.
Golly, that's for
Oh.
So that added on to its already high box office total.
Highest grossing 2D animated film of all time. And
Yep.
I think it's also the highest bought VHS. I know this because I have one.
I'm pretty sure every household has one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And also a copy of Lion King 2 Simba's Pride.
Yep. That's the other thing we should mention, that this sequel, for better or worse, will not be a straight remake of Simba's Pride.
I'm fine with that. No offense to I know there's a huge fan base for this one sequel, and a lot of it's fan fiction people. No offense to those fans, but a lot of those straight to video sequels are not really good, and I'd rather them take the film in a different direction than just do a high realistic animated version of Simba's Pride. But that's just me, though. I know that, like I said, that film has its fans. I'm not one of them.
He's not one of us. That song slaps, by the way.
Yeah, I love the soundtrack to Simba's Pride. I listen to We Are One pretty much every month. It's just that good.
To be fair, I haven't seen that movie in ages, but I remember really not liking it. And now it's just like right when those direct-to-video sequels were coming out, and I was just not a fan of any of them. I'm sure I'd like a few of them more now than back then, because I'm an adult and I can observe the themes and commentary and whatnot. But no, we'll have to see how this goes. There's no trailer, nada. It's just, and I don't think Barry Jenkins is going to like turn into a worse director after doing a Disney product. I know some people are like, well, the directors of like Christopher Robbins and Pete's Dragon haven't done much since, and it's like, maybe that's because they want to take their time with making a new movie. And like the guy who did Pete's Dragon did Old Man and a Gun, and I love that movie.
Yeah, same.
So it's like everybody was so like ready to jump at Barry Jenkins at this, saying like, sell out, you betrayed cinema. And it's just like, be quiet, y'all. But sorry, taking a sip of water. But yeah, I think we'll just have to see what happens. But now we move on to the bigger, or the biggest of the news stories. Mike, would you like to talk about Warner Brothers and their Dr. Seuss stuff?
Yes. So this is pretty interesting. We've known for a while that Warner Brothers now has the exclusive rights to the Dr. Seuss library. So starting in 2024, we have Warner Brothers creating I guess you could call it a Dr. Seuss shared universe.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds wrong when you
You could call it a Seussiverse.
Actually, that's perfect. So the official story is that Warner Brothers Animation is developing a Dr. Seuss cinematic universe, which includes The Cat in the Hat, Thing 1, Thing 2, and Oh, the Places You'll Go. The thing is, this doesn't start until 2024, which is The Cat in the Hat. Then Thing 1 and Thing 2, 2 years later. And in 2027 will be Oh, the Places You Will Go. So by the time this is all over, I'll be 35.
Damn, you're old.
Right?
Well, I'm 30 right now, so I'll be 37.
I'm 24, so I shouldn't say anything.
You whippersnapper, get off my lawn! No, I'm kidding.
The other interesting tidbit about this is that Bad Robot Productions is attached, and this is their first like animated feature. So I think that's probably the most significant piece of news to come out of this, other than it's, you know, Dr. Seuss and a cinematic universe. But the reason why I'm excited about this is because I think it was either last year or 2018. Warner Brothers did a series for Netflix based on Green Eggs and Ham, and at first I wasn't sure what to expect, because how do you take like a 20-page children's book and expand that to a 13-episode series? But then I watched the series and it turned out to be amazing.
Yeah, that Netflix series was actually really good. And you think it wouldn't be, and then you see some of the people attached to it, like Adam Devine and Michael Douglas and Eddie Izzard, and you think like, man, I don't know about this. And then you watch it, and it's a lot more complex than you would think it is, and it's a lot funnier than you also. And I know that sounds like it's, you know, a weird and bad idea because of what Illumination did, and then those horrible, horrifying live-action Dr. Seuss adaptations. And though I will say I do kind of like the Illumination's Grinch film in a few ways, just not as a whole, but just elements of it. Can someone tell me why we're getting a Thing 1 and Thing 2 movie?
Okay, yeah, that's the one I was questioning the most out of all three of these. I don't know how you can make a full feature out of Thing 1 and Thing 2.
It's a weird idea. I don't get that. It's like, I'm trying to think of a good comparison. It's like making a Shrek follow-up, but only about Donkey. Like, no, or like the Gingerbread Man. Like, you can't do that. I don't know. Well, I shouldn't say you can't do that, because they'll find some way. But I think the one I'm looking forward to the most is honestly the last one, the Places You'll Go.
Same.
Because you look at the visuals of that film, and it's like, oh, this is going to look great in animation. And I mean, we'll have to see. You can't get any worse than the live-action Cat in the Hat or Illumination's The Lorax, which just basically betrayed its entire moral and commentary. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see where these go.
Well, Billy, and do you have any nostalgia for any of the Dr. Seuss books growing up?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Cat in the Hat, Lorax, Green Eggs and Ham, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. You know, everybody's grown up with Dr. Seuss, or I hope they have. And, you know, it's not a bad idea. Like, I don't know how you're going to make a Thing 1, Thing 2 movie as well. That's strange. When I think of, the Places You'll Go, I think of, this is just that book that every college graduate gets, but it's still good. And I don't know, as long as it's not Illumination, I don't care. Just make a good movie. And if they want to do like the Marvel thing where it's like an overarching theme, I'm not going to be on board. But if it's like individual stories that happen to take place in the same universe, that's fine.
I feel like that's the approach they're going to take, because I don't know how they can make like a
connected universe.
I mean, personally, I've just always assumed that all the Dr. Seuss like original creations existed in the same universe anyway. But it's less structured like the MCU, and more structured like the classic Hanna-Barbera shows, with Yogi Bear and Huckleberry Hound and all of that.
Yeah, it's like the Laugh Olympics kind of connection.
Yeah.
No, I think that's the only way it can work. Even though I know like the Cat in the Hat is like a almighty god, I guess you could say, like because he keeps popping up in other books, and so like he could be like the Stan Lee of the Dr. Seuss films. But yeah, I mean like. They can't get. I mean, I think Warner Brothers has a pretty good, solid track record for their last decade of animation. Because they had the Lego movies, Storks, Smallfoot, and I mean, like I said, you can't get any worse than the Lorax film from Illumination, which betrayed its entire ideas and morals, and then took the ambiguous bad guy and made it a generic bad guy. And then, of course, the whole marketing campaign, where it's like, the truffle trees approve of this car. And it's like, wait, what? But I think that's it for the news. Pretty lightweight in general.
Yeah, so now it's time to dive deep into the mysteries of Gravity Falls.
Yay!
So before we get started, I want to go around the horn and discuss where we were when we first discovered the series.
Yeah, so I had been recommended by my co-host of my podcast, Raul Rodriguez. Love you, buddy. And he just kept badgering me, just going, "You gotta watch Gravity Falls. You gotta watch Gravity Falls." And I was just like, all right, I'll watch it. And then I did. And, the rest was history. This was after the show had aired, by the way. So I had access to all of the show. By the time I started the second season, like I watched the entire second season in one day. I could not stop watching. And that is the sign of a great, great show.
Indeed.
Well, for me, I didn't actually start watching this show until we decided to do a podcast about it. Sorry. But I always knew about it because it's one of those quintessential, like, milestone animated shows from the 2010s, because you can't talk about the 2010s, like, animation impact without bringing up shows like Adventure Time, Steven Universe, and Gravity Falls. And I then looked at the context of Gravity Falls compared to like all of Disney's animated stuff. Out of the three major networks that had like major animation icons, like Cartoon Network, Disney, and Nickelodeon, Disney basically went under the least amount of controversy. And that's weird because I'll ask you two this. When was the last time there was a major controversy for a Disney animated show?
I am hard-pressed to think of anything other than the very, very first news like announcements of a DuckTales reboot. But that was like quickly washed over once we actually started seeing footage of it.
And because Disney just kind of came and went with their shows. I think the only time they ever got like a lot of heat was near the very end of the Disney Afternoon legacy. That's when they had like a lot of just like, they have no idea what they are doing kind of shows, like the Mighty Ducks being an action show and all that stuff. And then of course then they kind of came and went with shows like American Dragon and Kim Possible. And then when Gravity Falls came out in 2012, it took the world, like at least the internet, by storm. Like I was always hearing about this show, and like I said, it was one of those influential shows that kind of shaped what the animation landscape would turn into alongside Adventure Time and Steven Universe. And I have some misgivings with the show, but mostly because of how influential it was compared to like cartoons that are coming out now, and some elements that we'll talk about, like TJ Miller.
Yeah, we'll get to him in a minute.
But I think overall, for a show that came out in 2012 and it's 8 years later, it's a really good show. I have some issues with it only being 2 seasons, but in general, I see where the hype is. I think it deserves all the acclaim and hype and support and fan base stuff. Like, it's all really good.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
where I come in from it.
I've been aware of the show for years, but by the time like its second season aired, I was not quite in a place where I was regularly watching TV on cable. So I would always hear like people say, "Oh, this show's so good, you got to watch it," and it was just one of those things I put off for the longest time until I gained a platform. So it wasn't until this year that I really started to take animation both on TV and streaming seriously. And it's through my friendships with people on the internet, and especially a friend of the show, PJ Campbell, who I think is one of the biggest Gravity Falls fans because he named 2 of his dogs after the main characters, Dipper and Mabel. So that's one of the things that really inspired me to quit procrastinating and finally give the show its day in court. And after binging both seasons, I can see why the kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. This is definitely worth the hype.
Yeah, talking about shows that you've been putting off, you better watch Hannibal.
We'll get to that later.
Oh, we definitely will. I would be remiss if I didn't. And the context behind that is basically a bunch of us, Mike's friends, have been badgering him about watching Hannibal, and he's always put it off. He says he's going to watch it this month, but I don't know. Anyway, back to Gravity Falls. Yeah, I had heard about it like through the grapevine, and a bunch of my friends had watched the show and were raving about it. And I'm like, there is no way it can be that good. Because the last show that I heard was that good was Avatar: The Last Airbender.
That's quite a comparison.
Oh, yeah, no. In terms of like popularity and writing and all that stuff. And I was a little skeptical because this is modern Disney Channel. So I'm a bit of a cynic when it comes, back in my day, TV shows were different. I didn't really have time for animated stuff. But then I learned, it's only 2 seasons, and that's very short, and I wish it was longer, but I'd rather it be short and sweet than just long and terribly. Voltron.
No.
Yeah.
Actually, I haven't seen the rest of Voltron.
I've only seen season 1 of Voltron.
Season 1 and 2 of Voltron are great, and then it just goes downhill after that.
Mike and I are going to try to catch up on a lot of the DreamWorks stuff because we want to do that, She-Ra, and the Guillermo del Toro series on Netflix, the Magica or whatever it's called.
Tales of Arcadia?
Yeah, that. So we just go over just a quick little plot summary before, just for anyone who may not have yet watched this show?
Sure. Let's describe the plot for the 3 people who haven't heard of this series.
Okay, you 3 people, listen up. So it's a show that takes place during the summer. 2 12-year-old twins, Dipper and Mabel Pines, voiced by the Jason Ritter and Christian Shaw, go into a small, in the middle of nowhere town, or like forest town, to be with their great uncle Stan Pines, who is voiced by the show's creator, Alex Hirsch. And, well, let's just say it's not a very normal summer vacation, unless you count a bunch of magical monsters showing up, a creepy little cult kid voiced by Flapjack himself, Thurb Van Norman, and a all-powerful interdimensional being named Bill Cipher, wrecking the town, among other things. I think that's a pretty good way to sum it up. It's to me, I kind of compared it at first, like, oh, so this show's kind of like if Goosebumps was actually good. Well, at least the 90s Goosebumps, comparing it to like the 90s Goosebumps. And then it became more of like an X-Files for a new generation. Because it is like, there's an ongoing mystery going on with like the town of Gravity Falls. And there's like lore, there's history, and characters that are involved in some way, shape, or form. And then it's like mostly at some points a monster of the week kind of story where they're like all mostly not connected in continuity and whatnot. Though the show does have a pretty strong continuity like area. So I guess like should we just talk about season 1 first, or like how should we approach this?
Yeah, let's talk about season 1, because that's while it's not quite the strongest season, it is the most important, because that's where they really establish who these characters are, where they live, and all of the people who live in this small town.
Yeah, this show actually more of, you were describing X-Files, but I thought it reminded me more of Twin Peaks, with it being a mountain town. It's very small, ongoing mystery, like you said, lore. It's like Twin Peaks and X-Files, but if it was done by Disney, with the same humor as like a Rick and Morty, just toned down a bit.
Yeah, but I'd say the sense of humor is kind of like, it's like Rick and Morty meets like The Simpsons, because both this and The Simpsons have like your core characters, and then basically everyone in the town has some personality as well.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to like about this small little town, full of kind of the weird country bumpkins you would kind of expect up there. And then maybe some of the weird people, and then like some more hip individuals that have kind of grown up there their whole lives, and then of course all the monsters and gnomes that live there. I guess that's like, where should we start with season 1? Like, what would you say are like for our first introduction to the show? What is the strongest elements? Or like, what are the strongest elements?
I think one of the strongest things about season 1 is the pilot. The pilot does a really good job of setting up Dipper and Mabel, their their whole, I guess, reason for staying at this mystery shack. It sets up who their uncle is, sort of, and it sets up the journal, which basically guides the characters through all of these weird happenings.
Yeah, I think the show has some really witty writing, because, and I know some older animation fans are going to be like they're not like our cartoons from the 80s and 90s. And it's like, well, I'm sorry to burst your little nostalgia bubble, but cartoons from the 2010s have so far had the superior writing, because it doesn't like the show itself is very homey and very like casual with its humor. and that's also because a lot of the characters are well written, fleshed out, and it's just a funny show. I found myself constantly laughing, especially when with the employee of the Mystery Shack, Seuss.
Oh
yeah,
yes.
no, yeah, Seuss, he's the greatest, dude.
Yeah, my wisdom is both a blessing and a curse. And there's no real push to try to make it timely or pop culture referenced, because some people still think that a lot of shows are going to get DreamWorks, if you know what I mean. They're going to be very modern, very hip dialogue and modern references. No, it's very self-contained, and even if there are some characters that don't get a lot of fleshed out development, I still love what's his name? He's voiced by John DiMaggio. Manly Dan.
Manly Dan is great.
And then there's the cute biker who later becomes the mayor of the town, voiced by Will Forte. Where it's get him, get him. Or the weird little newspaper guy.
Toby Determined.
Yes, voiced by Greg Turkington, who you may know for those weird movie reviews that he does with Tim Heidecker for Adult Swim.
Or, Baskin Robbins Always Finds Out.
Oh, that was him?
Yeah, that was him.
Oh, neat. That's actually very informational, because that's how I knew him, was the Tim and Eric stuff. And then I also like how they just write the characters. Dipper and Mabel feel like real twins. I'm a twin, I have a twin sister, not identical or anything like that. And I believe their dialogue and their back and forward chemistry, and it's like I said, it just feels very believable. It seems like it's sometimes kind of hard to write natural flowing dialogue for cartoons sometimes.
A lot of that comes from Alex Hirsch's personal experiences. Most of the episodes, he would actually rewrite the dialogue to make it sound more natural.
I like that. Well, I can't remember a single line where I was like, oh, that was kind of clunky or kind of forced. Even with some of the more comedy-driven characters, like Sheriff Blubbs and Deputy Durland, voiced by Keith Ferguson and Kevin Michael Richardson. I just loved how they talked with one another. And yeah, from the sounds of it, it sounds like Alex Hirsch had a very distinct identity or tone that he wanted to go with.
Yeah, and I think you were mentioning the twins thing. That's because Alex Hirsch has a twin, and so he understands what it's like. And his twin is a sister, so he is Dipper essentially, and she is Mabel. And really, I think it's just his sense of humor that he puts in the dialogue. And a lot like early Simpsons, there are jokes just flying at you. A lot of them you don't even catch. And what's also great about the show is just the little Easter eggs that he puts in. For example, in the first season, from the pilot, you see Blandin in the background. And this is before he was even introduced.
Oh, so he's actually back there, because I wanted to go back in time. I wanted to go back and watch the show and see if he actually showed up.
Yeah, no, he's actually there.
Oh,
and then the mid-credits, tags, they always end with a cipher or a clue. A lot of the times it's just a message, just a fun little message that's associated with the episode. But then other times it's important to the plot. And it's a lot of figuring stuff out along with the characters, because you don't know where it's going to go. And you mentioned Bill Cipher. He's great. And his inspiration is literally just, that eye on a triangle thing on the back of the $1 bill.
Yeah,
yep.
That's literally it, but with arms, legs, and a top hat.
a top hat that is part of him. I was really grossed out in the second season when what was it? J.K. Simmons' character,
Ford.
Yeah, Ford shot and missed, and it went through his hat, and it was all flesh and bone under there.
For such a simplistic design, it's perfect for the show.
Yeah, a lot of people like to rag on the current animation style, but all these designs, like, they're detailed enough. Like, they don't need to be any more detailed than they need to be. A lot of people kind of have the false assumption of more detail means better animation. That's absolutely not true. Like,
if anything, more detail is harder to animate.
that's why people were kind of like not over the hill with like something like Hazbin Hotel, because everyone's like, look how detailed it is. And it's like, all I could think of was, man, that must have been a pain to animate.
Yeah, I feel that way about Archer because it looks phenomenal. But Archer is also really funny and well written, so I'm sure they got to work extra hard.
Yeah, no, and I think for a show that's mostly a comedy, it can be like unsettling at points, and not just with like Bill Cipher and such. There's like a real dread at points with like certain characters and just atmospheric moments, and just like it reminds me of like Ozark and stuff like that. Like there's just something a bit off with that area, and even though it's mostly played up for laughs, like still a whole quickie mart owned by the ghost of an old couple. That's creepy. Or like the what was it? The mini golf place that has those little golf ball creatures. And
do it for Big Henry.
Big Henry. I said like I guess on Facebook or something, saying like, we will chisel in stone the legend of Big Henry.
Like the first time I saw that, I could not stop laughing. I mean, it's so ridiculous. It's these sentient golf balls that are, by the way, this is all spoilers.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah, we're spoiling everything.
Yeah, and it shows old, so
yeah. And also, I'm just gonna put in a random plug on my podcast, the See You Next Summer podcast, which is named directly after, the very last thing you see in the show. We are recapping every episode of Gravity Falls, and it's very, very detailed.
Like, a lot of this town reminds me of like when I took road trips to like Colorado and such.
Yeah, it's a tourist trap.
Yeah, it's a very tourist trap art, but it's also just like, it's like timeless enough and cynical enough to not be like, okay, we'll stop here and then just hightail it to where we actually want to go. And man, there's a lot to talk about the show, and I'm kind of like flustered about where to start. Well, like what else? I guess we should talk about the Grunkle in the room with Grunkle Stan, the pseudo protagonist, antagonist, or anti-hero of Gravity Falls in a way.
That seems like a accurate description of him.
Yeah, call him the deuteragonist, or would you like? He's just like, he's not really wise in the sense of the wise old man trope, but he's wise in other ways.
He's wise when it comes to street smarts, and even then, that's not exactly accurate.
Oh yeah, and another note, most of the characters are voiced by Alex Hirsch as well. He voices Grunkle Stan, Seuss, and Bill Cipher.
Yeah, and no, the show has a really good voice cast. Like we said, with Jason Ritter and Kristen Schaal as the Pine twins. Keith Ferguson and Kevin Michael Richardson are the apparently only two policemen in that one town.
Linda Cardellini is Wendy.
Yep.
I love Wendy. She's like, I love how they write teenagers also, and I'm sure that's kind of also Alex Hirsch and his team. Like, she's not just like, oh, I don't like working here at the Mystery Shack. She's very laid back. She comes off more like a, I don't know if any of you two have seen Kiki's Delivery Service.
Yes.
Yep.
She reminds me of a painter woman that Kiki runs into. just kind of laid back, kind of like chill. And yeah, and sure, her friends are a little more hip, like hipster teen stereotypes. Like you got Tambry, the goth. You got Lee, the kind of laid back dude. You got Thompson, who's the butt of the joke. And oh, by the way, Lee and Thompson, and this guy pops up everywhere. Michael Rionda is the director of Connected that's coming out from Sony Pictures Animation. He was a big team member of Gravity Falls, and
he was the creative director for season 1.
And that just makes me more excited for Connected because I can't wait for all the Gravity Falls vibes from that. And then you have random little characters like Bud Gleeful, the used car salesman, whose son, Little Gideon, is Little Gideon actually his son? Because at first, I remember at first they set him up. He was like the market person, like the hype man for Gideon, and then he is like they're related, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Gideon is just he's just a spoiled brat who happens to be the son of a used car salesman.
Like at first I was thinking like Little Gideon was like a parody of those like middle of nowhere church preachers.
I mean, he is that.
Appearance is definitely that.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, he's voiced by Thurip Van Orman. So if you are watching and it's like, man, he sounds like Flapjack from the Misadventures of Flapjack, that's because it's him. And he also kind of comes off like a parody of those Children of the Corn spooky characters, like, you know, killer kids. And I have to say I love Bud Gleeful, but mostly because he's voiced by Stephen Root, who you know as Bill from King of the Hill and many other things. But did you guys know that Nikki Yang, who voices who's like she's Lemon in The Fungies and Bimo from Adventure Time, she voices one of Mabel's friends, Candy Chew.
Oh, that's her.
Yeah,
Candy is Bimo.
Yeah. You could tell it's a very distinct voice, and that's kind of my thing. But like I said, we also have like Terry Walgren, who's Sandra Jimenez, the more popular newscast individual. Let's see, you have Carl Farulo as Grenda. And then, of course, Alex Hirsch as Old Man McGucket, who I was so glad they fleshed him out, because at first I thought he was just the typical crazy old man. But and I guess that's like the one thing that season 1 and season 2 do really well. They really flesh out some of the characters. Like, they're not just so one note. Some of them are by the end of the show, but I really liked the direction they took with McGucket. Because you can't really be like, I'm a crazy old man who makes giant robots. And not like, okay, what's your deal? And then Justin Roiland pops up as
Blendin.
Yeah.
And it's literally him just doing the same voice he does for Morty. Oh, when they go to Time Babies Dome, the two guards, Lolf and Dundgren, just little things like that crack me up and are just like so funny. Like, it doesn't make direct pop culture references, but it alludes to a lot of them. Like early on in Dipper versus Manliness, he is getting made fun of because he listens to Icelandic pop group Baba.
a lot of those like parodies of pop culture references are mostly just because they didn't have the rights to a lot of those references, so they had to kind of like make them up. Like there's an episode in season 1 called Fight Fighters, which is an obvious Street Fighters parody, and it's a pretty funny episode because it really is a loving tribute to like video games and, you know, the cliche of like video games coming to life. And it's also the one bad thing about it, and one of the worst things about this season, is Robbie. Let's
Let's be fair. It's only because he's voiced by T.J. Miller, but also just because he's a jerk.
Well, yes, to be fair, a lot of the accusations came after Gravity Falls ended, but it's also kind of hard to watch the show. It's not hard to watch the show and have him still be voiced by Miller and have him be like a major reoccurring antagonist at points, even if he's a really pathetic antagonist.
I mean, he's only in it as much as Linda Cardellini is, and it's not that much. And
No.
I mean, I don't know if you guys knew this, but during the Weird Mageddon finale, the giant head that has like a hand growing out or an arm growing out of the top of its head, that was Louis C.K. originally.
Yeah.
Yep, and then Alex Hirsch redubbed him because
Louis C.K. sucks.
I actually have seen the clip of Louis C.K. as the character, and it's kind of a shame that he's a scumbag because I do love that monster, but he's just like, hey, you, I want you in my mouth. Like, get in here. I want to eat something. And you can kind of see why he was voiced by Louis C.K., but in the end, though, I highly prefer Alex Hirsch do redubbing in general.
Same.
Obviously.
I mean, he voices just like even characters that appear in one episode, like Quentin Tremblay, the silliest president of the United States, or the gnomes in the pilot. Every time I think of the gnomes are a powerful race, and he gets flipped over by a shovel.
Or a Smabulok.
Schmebulok. The best gnome.
Yeah, the best gnome. Now, there are quite a few different celebrities pop up, like Darlene in season 2 for the Spider Woman. It's voiced by Chelsea Peretti, who you would know from like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and then of course Judge Kitty Meow Meow Face Schwartzstein is voiced by Jon Stewart. Though that's pretty obvious when you hear his voice.
And don't forget about Weird Al.
Oh god,
yep.
Weird Al as Probabilitor. I loved that episode. I loved his I don't know. I found myself quoting that line a lot when I was playing a game recently.
How did they get past my one guard?
But there's a problem. We're kind of like going to and from season 1 and 2, but that's kind of because I think season 1, like after the first few episodes, really drags a little in its story, because then it turns into kind of like a
freak of the week.
Story of the week kind of thing. And even though there's also like fun facts, like Matt Chapman, one of the creators of Homestar Runner, pops in as different characters.
Yeah, he's a writer on a lot of the episodes, and he voices a couple of minor characters.
But it's like I kind of almost got a little frustrated with the show, because it was like, oh man, there's going to be this ongoing mystery, and it's going to like build up to a bunch of things, and then it just kind of drags its feet a little until near the end. And it's not like the episodes were bad. Like, I still get a huge kick out of like the Mermando episode, and where we meet Mr. Poolcheck, and then Boy Crazy, where you find out that this boy band was are just a bunch of clones,
and they're all voiced by Lance Bass.
Yep.
One of the things I do, I'll go back to with the pop culture references that they parody. They don't punch down on them, like, or at least I didn't feel like they were like punching down on something like the Boy Crazy episode where they were making fun of boy bands and such. And that's so easy to do, because you can easily make fun of boy bands and the craze during the 90s, and then during that one little blip on the radar in the music when One Direction was a thing.
If anything, the like all the references to boy bands in that episode are, except for the clones, because that's a very Gravity Falls thing to do. But everything else was kind of spot on.
And I feel like Lance Bass wouldn't have done the gig if it was like punching down, and not because of who he is as a person, but just like man, you guys are just gonna make a bunch of jokes about my career. And I will say I do like how they get creative with how they deal with Halloween.
Oh, one of my favorite episodes is the Summerween episode.
Yeah, and they make a very creepy No Face from Spirited Away villain with the Summerween trickster, who's voiced by Jeff Bennett, by the way.
And his backstory is one of the best I have ever seen. It's both funny, but also it just makes a lot of sense. And I can argue actually that a lot of season 1 episodes, like they might be, Monster of the Week, much like Summerween, but they do add character. And like we do learn about the characters, like, how they react to certain situations, how they think. Little things that do come back into the story much later on.
Also think about some of the events from season 1 after watching season 2 with the information that you know. Like, I was watching a video earlier that was explaining sort of the brilliance behind episode 3, Headhunters, where Mabel and Dipper discover the Stan's wax collection.
Oh, that's one of my favorites, with a cameo from Coolio and John Oliver as the Sherlock Holmes statue.
And Larry King.
Yeah.
Larry King's head is hungry.
Think about the funeral scene where Stan is holding a funeral for his wax sculpture. You think at first it's just Stan being like Stan being
selfish.
Yeah. But then you realize that he hasn't seen his brother in what is it, like 30 years?
Yeah, I think 30 years.
So that kind of adds a new layer to what was already a kind of hilarious moment in the episode. It adds a darker layer to it.
And that's actually nice, because that was kind of my issue. Like, I wasn't really thinking about like how these would connect later on. And then when we, of course, find out what exactly happens in season 2, I guess, like, now that we're talking about it, I think the show does have a good, like, here's, like, the introduction and then the payoff is great. So I will say, I think I'd be terrified no matter what if I saw a multi-bear in real life, voiced by Alfred Molina.
He introduces a lot of what's called Chekhov's guns, and some of them take a while to go off, but everything that's introduced does come back into the story, which I think that's just great writing. Because a lot of the times they'll introduce something and then they'll just never go back to it, which is the worst thing you want to do, because that's an enormous waste of time. No, there are little things like when Wendy does the zipper over the mouth thing. Yeah. Like, that happened very early on in season 1, did not come back into play until around like midway through season 2. It's pretty impressive that Alex Hirsch also just came up with a story that encapsulates an entire summer. Like, there are certain points where I'm like, all right, this is the end of the first act, this is the end of the second, this is the finale.
Right. No, it's like, yeah, I guess it's like, now thinking about it, like, it's like one of those shows that, yeah, if you rewatch it, like, you do start noticing all those little details. And Mike, I mean, like, you said you read the TV tropes page of season 1. Like, what were your takeaways from that? Like, reading that and then going back into season 1.
Yeah, reading the TV tropes page is interesting, because you pick up on a lot of like the smaller details. Like, for example, there's an entire shout out page which has all of the little references. Like, in Headhunters, we talked about the celebrities like Coolio and Larry King, But then there's things like the Bicepticus, the arm wrestling machine at the bikers bar, was apparently modeled after Kirk Douglas and Spartacus. or the line, it's a 2316, which was a reference to Monsters Inc.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Oh man, I can't believe they slipped that one through and I didn't notice it. I'm ashamed now that I didn't.
That's one of the things about Gravity Falls that I love is that you can rewatch it and you will notice something new. It's little details like that that keep you rewatching, aside from, the fantastic story and the great characters. Just you notice little things, whether it's in the background or if you pause at a certain point. Even the opening, like you hear backward talk, and then if you play it in reverse, it will give you a message, and it's.
I guess like Gravity Falls is like the first show to start doing that. I guess I can't remember if Adventure Time did this, but I feel like Gravity Falls was the first one to leave those little number messages or letters, scrambles at the end of the episodes and whatnot. And I feel like that's kind of cool. It helps kids and viewers like stay more interactive with the show.
Yeah, that's something I like about that too. I like it breeds a more active audience than like shows from like the 90s and 2000s.
The big change with cartoons from the 90s to the 2000s to the 2010s was that instead of being very like this episode has this story, we're not going to reference it again, or maybe we will depending on the reception of it. And it was just like one-off stories, and Gravity Falls was one of the first ones to start putting a story to it and that putting that mystery and whatnot. I was a little disappointed that the shorts weren't fully connected with the show. Like and for context, like they have these little 3 to 5 minute long shorts that are just like little side stories. Or do they connect? Because I was never able to connect them with whatever happened in season 1.
I think they were just kind of cute little shorts that were kind of they had their own little mini adventures.
And when the show got scary, it was legit creepy, especially when Dipper and Wendy encountered the mysterious old man, voiced by Mark Hamill. I got so many John Carpenter The Thing vibes from that episode, and I'm sure that's kind of intentional because you find out that the mysterious old man is actually a shapeshifter, and I mean I guess that's what makes sense to me. And then there's like, instead of just like the supernatural scares, I think my favorite episode is when you finally begin to get involved with what's her name, Pacifica Northwest and her family. First off, I liked the progression that they took with her. She's not just a spoiled rich kid, voiced by Jackie Buscarino, though she is. And I guess content warning. I'm gonna say it's a content warning because I'm gonna say there's undertones of abuse. Because of her parents, Preston Northwest and what was her mom's name?
All I know is that the dad is voiced by Nathan Fillion.
Yep.
Yeah, the dad's voiced by Nathan Fillion, and the mom is voiced by Carrie Walgren. Oh, that's kind of a bummer. The mom doesn't get really a name. It's just Pacifica's mother. And it's the episode when you find out about how bad the Northwest family is when they encounter a ghost, once again voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson. And while the ghost is creepy, I think the thing that kind of caught me off guard the most was the bell that the dad would ring when anytime Pacifica would try to talk back. There are some wildly scary and uncomfortable implications about how that works.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's like Pavlov's dog.
Yeah, it's like all the storytelling you need to show the dynamics between Pacifica and her parents in one little detail.
And by the way, this episode comes after we've already learned how bad the Northwest family is for, first of all, not even founding Gravity Falls. That was something they lied about, or they were involved in a government conspiracy.
Yeah, no, it's just like it caught me off guard because I feel like a lot of shows, at least during this time period, would find way more creative ways to talk about this kind of stuff. Like I think now with like stuff like Kippo and the Age of Wonder Beasts, they're not, and like the Owl House, they're going to be a little more straightforward with what they're talking about. But Gravity Falls, I think, was the first one to have like I said, that little bell thing, just kind of like, whoa, there's something creepy about, well, and very sad about that. And no, it's just I love it. And then like there are episodes like where Seuss falls in love with a virtual AI girl named Giffany, which, first of all, great name, Giffany. I think that's great. And then, of course, if you play video games, you kind of know what they're making fun of. Or at least they're kind of making fun of it. I don't know if I forgot what the game was called. It's free, and it's like, it was supposed to be like this, it's a visual novel where you interact with these girls, and then
Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yes, that. And I don't know if this came out first before this episode or not, but the show is smart enough to like have more mature topics like isolation, communication, relationships. Because at first I thought Dipper Pines was kind of the weaker of the two Pine twins, and that was mostly because of how he just wanted to date Wendy. But I was kind of happy with the episode where they encounter the creepy shape-shifting monster, that they kind of nipped that storyline in the butt and said like, hey, you know what? You're too young for me, and this is not okay. And then they have like little elements in like in the boy band episode where Dipper's like, I told you TJ Miller's character is bad. So do you want to go with me to hang out? And it's like, wow, Dipper. But I mean, that's how I feel about it. I thought the show was really good with kind of nipping that. I mean, I understand. It's he's a young boy. He has a crush on an older girl. I'm sure a lot of us have had that kind of situation.
Oh yeah,
But,
We've all been there.
Yeah, but I like that they just kind of went up front with it. Because I mean, I don't know. I kind of like that because sometimes Mike and I have watched stuff where they just absolutely do not condemn the chemistry or like story stuff like that. If you see our episode about Whisker Away, you'll see what we mean. Or like when we talk about hoops. But I mean, I guess like what else do you guys want to talk about this show? Because we could start going into like season 2 a little.
I want to dive deeper into season 2, but first, what are some of your favorite episodes from season 1? Because I can name a couple already. Headhunters, I think, is easily one of my favorites. It's Headhunters, The Time Traveler's Pig, because that's when we meet Blandin.
And what's the pig called?
Waddles.
And Waddles, the best pig ever.
Keep
going.
And kind of an underrated episode. It's one of only 2 like anthology episodes. Bottomless Pit, where everyone is falling into the bottomless pit, and to pass the time, they're just telling stories, like very very non-canonical short stories.
Let's see. I think one of my favorites was, I think The Time Traveler's Pig. I like Fight Fighters. I like Dipper versus Manliness. I like Summerween. I like The Deep End, mostly because of that pool guy. And I like Land Before Swine.
Oh, I forgot. That's a good one too.
I mean, also these titles of the episodes are great. Mine, I'm gonna have to say, I like Time Traveler's Pig, Headhunters, Summerween, Fight Fighters, Boys Crazy, and Gideon Rises, the season 1 finale.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one. I mean, really, I can't, like, even if I wasn't, like, a huge fan of the slow area of season 1, I can't really say there was, like, a bad episode that, like, went back on some of the character decisions and development, you know? It seems like even, like, with Avatar The Last Airbender, everyone has that one episode that they can say that was like, okay, that was the worst one.
Yeah, Gravity Falls doesn't really have that.
Well, not in this season anyway. There is one in the second that I do not like.
We'll get there.
You know which episode I'm talking about too.
Maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, I guess let's go into season 2, which to me, I think that's where the whole show finally found its groove, for better or worse. Like, this is the one where it was a little more story focused, in my opinion, a little more like it kept the story going. The mysteries and the characters were a little better and whatnot. And I mean, but that's just me. What did you guys think of season 2?
I like how Seuss gets a lot more attention in season 2, and we already talked about the episode Seuss and the Real Girl. But yeah, that one is one of my favorites because it's Seuss focused, and because we start to see him, maturing, and gaining more confidence beyond beyond his job at the Mystery Shack.
Again, that's what's so great about this show. They expand on certain characters in like really great ways. Like, I'm so glad Seuss was not just the dumb idiot character, or I guess that's a double negative. Like the stupid character of the bunch. He's not bright in some ways, but he's still very reliable and very handy and talented in many other ways. And then, of course, there's the episode, I think it's Blendins game, where you find out about his connection with his dad, and it's just so good. But Billy, what do you think of season 2?
I think it's a vast improvement, and that's really because it becomes much more story focused. And I think that a lot of the episodes are just better written, they're better paced. First season of most shows, they're just kind of figuring out their groove, and they don't really have their identity yet, and that's fine, and they're still great. But this one, it hits the ball running. I mean, it starts with a weaker episode, but it's still very fun. And yeah, they expand upon characters like Seuss. He's the lovable fish,
Yeah, dude. I love his voice. I love Alex Hirsch's voice for him. I mean,
I know it's great, dude.
I mean, I like a lot of the, like I said, voice cast great. But then, of course, I love some of the casting, like when we are introduced to Agent Powers and Agent Trigger, who are voiced by Nick Offerman and Brad Agrell.
Nick Offerman is the perfect person to deliver the line. I was born without the ability to
laugh. Or
yeah.
Yeah, he plays a MIB government agent who has no sense of humor, even though his lines are absolutely funny.
So it's Ron Swanson.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
As an FBI agent.
Yeah, he's never going to escape that role from Parks and Rec, but that's why he's funny. He has a very dry sense of delivery.
And a great mustache.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I love when they're at the, I think it was the party at the Northwest Mansion, when he and Powers and Trigger go into a jacket closet. And he's like, okay, now where's my phone? He's like, I don't have it on you. I put it in the purse. It's like, everything's supposed to be in there. And Trigger's just like, I'm not your pack mule here. Like, again, the back and forth between all these characters. But yeah, I think they also take advantage of the slightly creepier tone of the show. I mean, on top of the Gulf War with the golf balls. I mean, that's creepy itself. And then, like, Bill Cipher comes back a lot more. Like, I guess a lot more in this season.
My favorite episode with Bill in it is Sock Opera. The
Yes.
one where Mabel has to put on the puppet show, and just so many great lines. It's so
I
funny.
love Dipper as a sock puppet when he gets angry.
Oh god, it's a very Muppet like reaction.
I'm off to fight in the war.
But yeah, this is where we definitely get like doses of like how dangerous Bill Cipher is. It's like, no, I just want a favor. Are you sure? Yeah, no, it's no big deal. And then he like tricks Dipper by putting him into a sock puppet because like, but I didn't say what puppet I wanted, or for like what body I wanted. And and then the Society of the Blind Eye, which is basically going around with a Men in Black mind eraser gun, but more steampunk, and just wiping everyone's memories. Which that's kind of creepy to me. I think that's very creepy. On top of some of the other episodes, like the Northwest Mansion Mystery and. But Billy, you said there was one episode in season 2 that you're not fond of.
Yeah, and it's very early on. It's the Love God.
Oh, the one with John DiMaggio as
it's the one where it's essentially this Cupid guy comes and we gotta break. Wendy and Robbie are broken up, and I guess Robbie has to get with somebody, so it's just the chick Tambry, because there's literally no other girls. And it's
I think what saves this episode is John DiMaggio as the Love God.
No, he's great, but the weakest part of this show is the quote unquote romances, except with Mabel, because those are played for comedy.
Oh yeah. But I otherwise agree with you because we like after Robbie and Wendy broke up, I was ready to be completely done with Robbie, but nope, this episode had to bring him back.
Yeah, no, and that is the weakest part. But I do love the whole folk music festival, and just like all of those band names sound exactly like folk or indie bands, and I would assume a god would come down and just kind of chill out, like as his own individual like band or whatever.
There is a hilarious gag at like towards the end of this episode where Stan's hot air balloon comes racing down, and
it's on fire.
It's on fire. It's like racing down, and like some of the lettering fell off, so it reads "I eat children."
Oh man.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. Well, it's just he's like, honestly, Billy, you won't know about this movie, but Mike and I do. We watched when we were covering Annecy. We watched a film called Old Man the Movie, and a lot of this plot in this episode reminds me of that because they're like, oh no, the worst thing ever, hippies and hipsters. And but I guess we should talk about the elephant in the room with this season, because we finally find out the actual origin of Stan and his brother when you find in the backstory about what exactly happened with Gravity Falls.
Well,
yeah, so let's talk about probably the two most important episodes, Not What He Seems and A Tale of Two Stans.
Yeah, I told Mike, I'm like, when you get to Not What He Seems, your mind is going to be blown. And for context, the first thing that the pilot ever did was, Dipper gets the journal. Who wrote it? And that's one of the first mysteries that has not really been solved at all until now. And this is also the one where you don't know if you can trust Stan, like for real this time, because he's not really in a position to defend himself.
Yeah.
When it seems like everything is against him. And this is when yeah, we learn about his twin brother, Ford, who's J.K. Simmons, and his 6 fingers and everything. And it's some of the best television I have ever seen. I'm just
Oh,
going to
yeah.
say it right now. Not What He Seems is my favorite episode of Gravity Falls. That was the end of what I call the second act.
If it's not my favorite episode, it's definitely top 5.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
one of the
same
best
here.
written things, or just of television in general.
Because it does put Stan, or I guess Stan, really in a different light, like putting like the entire show up to that point in a different perspective. Because you find out he's hiding something, and then you find out that he's like, there's a portal underneath the mystery shack, and then he gets his brother back, and then you find out how his brother got trapped in the other dimension, and it's fairly heartbreaking. And the dynamics, I mean, they kind of stay the same, but there's definitely like a little change, like a little, like, I guess, distance between Stan and the kids, because you just lied about being the person you said you were, and I just like it. I love it. It's just this nuance to the whole story.
I remember, Billy, I remember one of the first things you asked me once I started watching, you asked me, so what do you think is behind that vending machine? And
Yeah, because they established that in the
pilot.
as well. Because you see Stan put in these numbers. The vending machine is a secret door, and it's what is behind there. And you find that out at the end of the first season.
I remember, like, at the time, I had no idea what to expect. I had a couple different theories, but I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting his brother to be on the other side. But yeah, once they finally like reveal that, and the origin of how they grew up, like their ambitions for sailing the world, only for all of their dreams to come crashing down. It was, as Cameron said, it was heartbreaking. Seeing a pair of twins who were about as close as Dipper and Mabel being torn apart by life, by weird cosmic happenstance. All of that was just so phenomenally written.
And no offense to all the other actors, but it's kind of unfair how good J.K. Simmons is in this role as Ford Pines. I mean, it's J.K. Simmons. He puts like 100% into anything he does.
Oh, totally.
But I will say one of my favorite little funny moments is when the episode where Ford tells Dipper to basically man up and like control your fear and whatnot. And he treats the fact that there were aliens in Gravity Falls as like, oh, no big deal. It's like, it's a day that ends in Y that there are aliens in Gravity Falls.
Oh yeah, because that's like the one rule I think that Alex Hirsch had about the series. You'll have zombies, you'll have gnomes, vampires. Well, they'll tease vampires, but he'll never put aliens in the series.
And technically, the aliens are not there. It's just the security robots and whatnot. And I think one of my favorite episodes is actually Weird Mageddon 2, Escape from Reality. That's where they go into that big thing that Mabel is trapped in. And I just like the commentary about it. Like, she's willing to stay in this fake fictional world because of just the roughness on the outside. And this is like kind of like the build up to that point where Mabel finds out her friends aren't going to be here by the end of the summer, and then finding out that Dipper might be the apprentice to Ford. And Mabel at most points of the show is kind of played up as the comedic side of the two twins. And I like that we kind of dive into her psychosis a little with that episode.
I also love how her reality is just completely off the rails. It's almost a great send up of like of those like really sugar-coated children's programming, like stuff like Teletubbies or Strawberry Shortcake.
I'm just a doll tree. I'm as joyful as can be. When everything goes sour, that's like the creepiest thing in that. Well, one of the creepiest things. I love the waffle guards. And then it's like, we're going to take you to the court. And then he finds out that Seuss bit into him. It's like, come on, man. It's like, sorry. It was this guy. But now, this is one thing I'll say about season 2, though. I think some story parts are a little rushed. And at first, I kind of assumed that the show only got 2 seasons because of business and studio shenanigans. Because that tends to happen a lot. That's what happened to like Titan, Symbionic Titan, and like Megas XLR. A lot of like business shenanigans. I think Alex Hirsch could have gone a 3rd season. I mean, not with how the show ended, but just to expand a little more on the world and such. But I don't know. I feel like that's just me, though. I think they could have taken a little more time to expand on the story a little.
I don't disagree. I think some things could have been expanded on a little bit, but at the same time, I'm glad this had a definitive ending, at least an ending to this summer, than have this series drag on and then get worse after season 2.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's like, I think I would have only wanted like maybe, I was just thinking like how many more seasons would I have liked? And I think maybe like 1 more, but mostly just to expand more on the town and the world of Gravity Falls. Just because I feel like with the stuff of Pacifica Northwest is a little truncated. Like, I feel like there was supposed to be a little more. And even though, like, I find a punchline in the final episode funny where they have to sell the mansion, and even then, that's not a huge setback. And it's like, oh, dear, you're only going to get 1 pony this Christmas. But it's like she doesn't, I guess it seems like she doesn't change enough. I would have liked maybe, like, another episode where Pacifica bonds with the Pine Twins or something. Just like, even though I love the overall story of the mansion mystery episode. But that's just me.
No, that's a fair critique. Billy, anything you would change about season 2?
Just take out the love god and you're good. Really. That's I like almost every episode. I mean, I don't hate the love god like that much, but it's definitely the weakest of, the series. And I think that it was just well written, well acted, it's animated great. It's everything that a modern kids show should be. And I use the term like, it's a kids show primarily, but there's a lot of adult things that I'm surprised they got away with in this show. And that's just throughout the entire run. I'm glad that Alex Hirsch decided to end it on his terms too, because Disney Channel was going to let him, they wanted more because it was proving to be very successful. But he's like, no, this is how I want to do it. And yeah, as soon as he introduced Ford, you knew that he was going for we were going into the story.
Yeah, the home run end of it all. Yeah,
just really heartwarming.
I think that's what's kind of nice about this one, because not a lot of show creators don't get to end on their own terms. Like, I'm sure at some point Matt Groening wanted The Simpsons to end at one point and not go as long as it did. And there's stuff like, like Seth MacFarlane is tired of Family Guy, and that's why he puts more of his focus on American Dad. For better or worse, depending on your taste for both shows.
Well, now he does the Orville, so.
Yeah, but yeah, no, this is like, it's a family show, but it's not insulting in that way. It's more like anyone can watch the show. it doesn't talk down to kids. It doesn't talk down to parents. Let's see. I guess we should go like what some of our favorite episodes are. So outside of Not What He Seems and A Tale of Two Stands, I like Dungeons, and More Dungeons.
Same.
I love the Stanchurian Candidate, mostly because of just what's going on right now. It's kind of a weird episode to watch, even though it's really funny and clever. But I also like The Last Mabel Corn because it has the pettiest unicorn of all time. And then, because then you find out that Alden's like, oh, you're not good enough. Yay! And then you find out the unicorns are like, oh my gosh, are you doing that stupid trial stuff again? It's like, sorry, you don't have to do any of that. She just does that for reasons. And let's see, I like Roadside Attraction. I like the Weird Mageddon episodes. Which one was it? The Northwest Mansion Mystery, The Society of the Blind Eye, and I think my favorite of the two anthology episodes was The Little Gift Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And Blendins Game. I just love that giant time baby. And it's like, you all have until he drinks all this magic space-time milk or whatever. And they're like, come on, drink it. And the baby's like, no, I don't wanna. Even though that giant time baby is creepy as heck.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, the Gulf War, and part of that's my bias to Patton Oswalt playing one of the characters, the one who's like Switzerland looking golf balls. And yeah, I think I also like Into the Bunker because I just like how creepy that episode is. What are your guys' favorite episodes?
Oh, gee, picking a favorite from season 2 is so difficult, but if I have to limit it to 5, I will say the Gulf War, Sock Opera, Seuss and the Real Girl, Northwest Mansion Mystery, and Weird Mageddon.
Yeah, you can combine the Weird Mageddon films. Episodes together because it's basically one 4-parter.
My number 6 and 7 would be Not What He Seems and A Tale of Two Stands.
I think mine would be like Dungeons and More Dungeons, mostly because of Weird Al, and just be like, I want to eat your brains, and then they're like, that's his thing, man. Billy, what about you?
I love Sock Opera, Seuss and the Real Girl, Not What He Seems, obviously, and A Tale of Two Stands, Northwest Mansion Mystery, and I mean, like, I love all these episodes, but I'm just gonna say Weird Mageddon after that.
Yeah. Now that's when Bill Cipher gets really creepy. For the most part, he's kind of like this cute-looking little triangle.
Well, he got creepy when, immediately when he gets introduced. Because, he shows off his powers. He takes the teeth out of that deer and then puts them right back. He's got, like, the creepy voice. And the fact that, he helped Gideon. And Gideon was the main antagonist, but you're just like, oh, shit, Gideon's nothing compared to Bill. Because this guy he's essentially a god.
Yeah. No, really, in general, I think season 2 is just fantastic. Even the episodes I said were my favorite, I like all the episodes, really.
Same. That's why picking a favorite was so difficult, because with the exception of Love God, they're all bangers.
And you don't get that a lot because even with shows like Adventure Time, there are points and seasons where people are like, okay, this is a low point. You can't, at least Gravity Falls doesn't have, at least not as many of those. It's pretty much a perfect show. And yeah, I think it deserves all, like I said earlier, it deserves all of the praise that it got. Like, it's influential for a reason, and it laid the groundwork for stuff like The Owl House, which is one of my favorite shows of the year. And
Mhm.
of course, Alex Hirsch is a part of it too.
For those who don't know, Alex Hirsch is actually dating the Owl House series creator Dana Terrace, and he lends his talents as a creative consultant and the voice of two characters, King and Hootie, who is Hootie is the best, but also the worst.
Yes.
Okay, so that leads to final thoughts, and then I have a few recommendations.
Like I said, I think I already kind of said my piece. I think it is one of the best cartoons of the decade. I think I guess as a whole, I put it in like the top 5 of the 2010s. Maybe if it was just season 1, I would have put maybe season 1 at like number 11, just because I feel like there were better shows, or at least better shows during when it was first released in 2012. But easily one of the 5 best shows, or at least cartoons of the 2010s.
Billy, what about you?
Just overall thoughts about the Owl House?
No, Gravity Falls.
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking up the Owl House. That's a great show, but Gravity Falls. Yeah, doesn't matter if you're young, old, or cynical and happy. Just anybody can watch this show and fall in love with it, and I seriously recommend it to everybody. For kids, I would advise some supervision, just because it is a little bit darker, and they might not get it, and there's some disturbing imagery, but overall, just it's a near perfect show. I can't wait to rewatch it over the years, and yeah, much like summer vacation, it's like watching awesome memories that'll last a lifetime.
Yeah. Good
At least going as far back as like the 80s and 90s, every decade has had at least one like decade defining show. The 90s you had like either Batman the Animated Series or Animaniacs. In the 2000s there was Avatar the Last Airbender. Gravity Falls, I think, is arguably the defining show of the 2010s. It has probably some of the best writing and the most creativity packed in a mere 40 episodes. And it's such a passion project for Alex Hirsch that I'm glad that it all came together and that he got to end it on his own terms. And just like in the Edgar Wright Cornetto trilogy, I think this is probably one of the most rewatchable shows, because you can pick up so much more than you could the first time through. So yeah, I would easily recommend this for anyone, whether you're 7, 17, 70. It's just a great show for everyone. Now, as for my recommendations, we already kind of talked about the Owl House, which is probably one of the best shows that Disney premiered in the 2020s. But the other two that I want to recommend that are still ongoing, there are of course new episodes of DuckTales that are premiering all this month. So knowing me, I have to sing the praises of that. And also a show from the storyboard artist and director of Gravity Falls, Matt Braley. He has a show that premiered last year called Amphibia. I just started catching up with the first season, and it's a little bit different from Gravity Falls. It's 2 11-minute segments, with the occasional 22-minute episode, but it still has like that upbeat sense of humor with an ongoing mystery in the background, and it's just a fun, optimistic show with a little bit of a dark side. But it's one that I comfortably recommend.
I do know Goofy's voice actor is one of the main characters.
Yep, Bill Farmer is the he plays Hot Pop, the father figure of the Planter family.
Nice. No, I can't wait to watch that. That's been on my watch list. I'm kind of waiting for season 2 to wrap up so I can binge it all. But it looks like it's right up my alley. For me, I guess my recommendations, I have 2 different ones. We are in the spooky Halloween season, and I think I recommended this one before, but I'll just say it again just in case. G-Kids put out a great anthology film called Extraordinary Tales. It's a anthology film, like I said, that's focused around 5 different Edgar Allan Poe stories. And they're all animated and directed by different people, and it is one of the last things you can watch that has Christopher Lee before he passed away. He appears in the first story, and one of the stories is The Tall Tale Heart, which I'm a little shocked Gravity Falls didn't parody, because I feel like it would be perfect for that kind of Mystery Shack setting. That has Bela Lugosi narrating it from a recording he did like decades ago before he passed away and such. Now, a tease for a future podcast. Mike and I are going to do a fall 2020 anime season impressions after the new shows have come out, and at least 2 to 3 episodes are out for each show. There are some bad ones like Assault, Lily, Bouquet, and King's Raid. But there are 2 horror-themed or supernatural-themed anime that I recommend watching. There's Jujutsu Kaisen, which is directed by the same guy who did the summer 2020 anime God of High School, which is an action, supernatural, shonen battle anime kind of show, though it's a lot darker than that. So it's a lot of fun. The first episode's great. It's on Crunchyroll, which you can watch through VRV. And then I told Mike about this show, and I'm going to be super vague about it because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who has yet to see it. And it's called Talentless Nana, or Nana. And do not watch the trailer. Do not read what the manga is about. Do not read the comments. Just go in as blind as possible with this show. And you'll see why I'm recommending it during October. And shout out to another one called Moriarty the Patriot, which is a horror-themed crime thriller mystery anime, which had its first episode premiere either like last night or something. And those are my recommendations.
I cannot wait to get into those new shows, especially the last 2 you mentioned.
Yeah, the Talentless Nana one. Yeah, it's the biggest surprise of this summer season, the fall season so far. I can't wait to talk to more people about this show. Billy, what about you? Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, I'll actually recommend the Tangled series, which I know sounds very strange, and it might initially seem like a cash grab, but it's 3 seasons. It's the same thing. It's modern, but it has a timeless feel to it. It seems a little slow at first in the first season, but again, like Gravity Falls, the overall story is amazing, and the fact they got Mandy Moore and Zachary Levi to play the characters again is great. There aren't as many musical numbers as you think, but when they do hit, it's awesome, and it expands upon like the Tangled universe in very awesome ways. And it's one that most people don't know about.
I've been meaning to get into that because one of my goals is to catch up with all of Disney's modern animated series, and that Big City Green and Big Hero 6 are kind of my top priority. Once I finish Amphibia.
Well, first you need to finish Hannibal.
Yes, we will. That will happen.
Your list never ends, Mike. No,
oh yeah, my list is evergreen.
No, I still can't wait to get into Big City Greens just because of that one clip I showed you with the cop being like, "Man, it's a nice day. I think it's good time for a lean." Leans to gets his cop car. A car runs over his foot, and he's like, "That's not good." I always heard great things about that. Just quickly, two things. One, I like that Gravity Falls introduced, I guess I would say, the first gay characters of the show.
For Disney at least.
Yeah. And it's kind of obvious who they are in hindsight, but I do like that they're slowly starting to ease into that, and I hope they keep going. And hopefully that goes into their films. We talked about this with like the Owl House and whatnot. And yeah, that's really it. That's all these sound like great recommendations. I always wanted to get into Tangled, but I was kind of curious to see what others thought about it.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode. Before we wrap up, where can everyone find you guys online? Billy, I'll start with you since you're our special guest.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at BBusterBill. All the B's are capitalized. You can find me on Instagram at Billy Batson's Lightning. Nothing is capitalized. And you could also follow me and my buddy Raul. We do a podcast called the See You Next Summer Pod. And on Twitter, it's SYNS Pod. So give us a follow and then, all that jazz.
Awesome. Cameron?
You can find me on Twitter at Cam's Eye View. I also run my own website called camseyeview.biz where I review animated films, and I call it the other side of animation, where we look at the foreign indie side and non-Disney Pixar stuff. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camseyeview. If you like my work, you can donate or help support my work there. I'm also in the Renegade Pop Culture Facebook group, so you'll see me make a post sometimes talking about what plans for Tooned Up that we have that we have coming up. And that's really it.
And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Captain K42. Check out all my quick thought reviews on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. Find me in all the various Facebook groups, including our own at Renegade Pop Culture, just at my name. Don't forget to check us out on Anchor, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you find your podcasts. And also check out renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this installment of Tooned Up. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.
Bye.